Hello, welcome back to my channel. We continue to implement our project. In the previous video, we implemented our database models and repositories. In this video, we will implement JPA Auditing. I will explain what it is and why you should also use it in your projects. Before we continue, I want you to know that this channel is all about growing as software engineers together. If you want to join, subscribe now. As you can remember, we added these fields to all models. These fields are going to be used to track the changes on the record. Thanks to the JPA auditing feature, we can know who created the record at when. Also, if the record was updated, we can know who updated it at when. Yes, let's implement it now. First, I'm gonna create a folder for configuration classes. Then, under this folder, I will create a configuration class for JPA auditing. This class will not have so much things on it, but we may need it for advanced features in the feature implementations. Since it's a configuration element, I use configuration annotation up here. Then I add enable JPA auditing annotation here to enable this feature on our project. By the way, I give a specific name to this annotation for reference. In the upcoming part, I will be using this name in the implementation class. That's it for this file now. Now I will create another folder to put security related classes. After that, it's time to implement the JPA Auditor. I'm using the component annotation here, and I specify it with the name I have used in the configuration file. I need to implement the required method. This method returns the necessary values for the created by and updated by values. We don't need to implement anything for the created at and updated at values since the framework automatically uses the UTC time. For example, in this case, the created by and updated by values will be marked as system. I will update this method after the implementation of authentication so that these fields are filled with the user ID of the person who performs the action. Okay, let's see JPA auditing in action. But first, we need to implement an endpoint. Before implementing an endpoint, we need to implement a bunch of other things. We will start by implementing data transfer objects, or also known as DTOs. DTOs are very useful because we don't have to deal with all the properties of a model class. We only select a set of properties that we need to send as a response or get from the client as an adjacent body. For example, we don't need to include the password property of the user model while sending a user instance as a response because the password value must be kept secret even though it's a hashed value. Okay, let's implement the school DTO. It will be a plain Java class. I use the getter and setter annotations for getter and setter functions, but you can also implement them traditionally. I prefer this way because it's more convenient and looks cleaner. And we have name, email, address, logo and website properties in this class. Yes, school DTO is done, but we need a type of mechanism that converts a DTO class to a model class and vice versa, because we cannot directly use a DTO class for database operation. For this purpose, we need to implement a mapper. A mapper converts a DTO object to a model object and vice versa. There are a few ways to implement mappers, but I prefer implementing them manually. We will have a dedicated mapper for each model, but for this video I will only implement a mapper for the school model. In the upcoming videos we will be implementing the other mappers and DTOs. In school DTO we will have two functions. The first function is for converting a school object to school DTO. This will be used mainly for returning responses. The second function is for converting a school DTO object to school object. This method will be used mainly for getting a school object from the user in the JSON response body. After implementing the mapper, it's time to implement a service class for school. Basically, a service class is a layer that contains the business logic of your application. First, I create an interface for all the functions that will be used for the class. We will be adding more functions in this interface as we progress in the project. For the sake of project structure, I'm creating a subfolder for service implementation classes. The code says that I need to implement the necessary functions. When we implement a service class, we need to use the service annotation to state that this is a service class. Before implementing the create school function, we need to inject our school repository here because we will have a database operation while saving a school on the database. Okay, now we can implement the function to save a school to the database. First, we declare a new school mapper object because we will be using it for converting the school DTO to a school type. Then we simply save it on the database using our repository class. After that, we return the saved school as school DTO. Okay, let's create a folder for controllers. Then we will implement the school controller. First, I'm using REST controller annotation. Then I'm giving a prefix to my controller. All endpoints of this controller will start with /API/school. After that, I inject our school service here. Since I'm using it in a constructor, I don't have to use auto-wired annotation here. Spring Boot will handle it automatically. Now we can start with our first endpoint, which is for saving a school on our database. I use post mapping annotation here because it's a post request. The endpoint sends back the created school information in the form of school DTO. I forgot to name our endpoint. Let me name it now. We need to add one more thing to our models. It's crucial for activating JPA Auditing feature. I will add this line to all models. Also, we need to add this line in our LMS application.java file, which is the start point of our Spring Boot application. Okay, we have done everything. It's time to test if it really works. Let me execute the application now. Let's send a request to our endpoint. I'm using Postman for this purpose. I have already generated a dummy school information beforehand for convenience. I hit the send button and here we go. Our school was successfully saved on our database. Let's see if it was really saved on the database. Yes, it was saved successfully. As you can see, the created by and created at fields are also filled as expected. That's it for this video. If you have any question, write them in the comments. I will continue to build the project, so make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. See you in the next video.